So, folks, we have to talk, unfortunately, about the fact that there is currently a fascist movement within the UK and also Northern Ireland. Uh, I'm distinguishing here because we're about to talk specifically about Belfast. But the politics of Northern Ireland in particular get real messy, real fast. But a lot of what's happening there right now is deriving directly from the failure of Keir Starmer's Labour and the ascendancy of Reform. And it is quite bad. Now, all of it stems from this incident. And I'm not, for obvious reasons, going to show you guys the video. But basically, this man was stopped from attempting, apparently, to allegedly trying to behead a man with a kitchen knife. And that's horrific. And I want to start out from a place of saying that is horrific. No getting around that. It's just point blank, absolutely horrific. The video in question shows this man who is believed to be from Sudan, pinning a man to the ground and stabbing him repeatedly in the neck and face. Now, incredibly, the man on the ground is apparently still alive and is still in critical condition, obviously, but still alive after being attacked point blank repeatedly with a kitchen knife is pretty lucky, to say the least. And also lucky was the fact that there were people around filming and who then intervened to keep this man at bay, and that intervention probably saved this person's life, the victim's life. What is happening in the UK right now and Northern Ireland is all kind of coming in response to this, but it's an entirely predictable set of responses from the major actors. And we have to talk about it because you're going to be waking up tomorrow, if you're in the United States, to headlines like this. This is from NPR, and it's being pushed out by the Associated Press. UK leaders call for calm as protests break out after Belfast street stabbing. Now, that might be an acceptable headline if what was happening in Belfast was people organizing, going out into the streets, protesting for police reform, etc., etc., etc. That's not what's happening. And I want to contrast this piece because with how The Guardian is portraying what is happening. And it's a bit different. There's wee girls inside. Panic as masked men storm house in Belfast. That seems a bit different. And that's because what's happening in Belfast is not protest. What's happening in Belfast is coordinated action from far-right fascist groups. Tommy Robinson put out the call for men to go out into the streets of Belfast masked up and to close down streets and to close down any businesses and to retake Belfast. Right? This is a fascist attack on a major city. Is it a riot or a terrorist attack or something else? I would characterize this as a bit of both. I would say it is part race riot and part terrorist attack, because this has absolutely been coordinated. And you can see, by the way, that Elon Musk, for example, world's richest man, has just been nonstop tweeting about this. They call for calm in the face of horror. This is inhuman and manipulative. The proportionate and natural response to a horrific incident is disgust, fear, and anger. They want to downplay the horror to dodge their own political responsibility for it. And here he is amplifying Tommy Robinson's call for mass protest, which I want you to be very clear on this. Tommy Robinson is a fascist white supremacist. When someone like that calls for mass protest with no apparent aim in particular other than hating immigrants, that's not a protest. Calling for a mass ethnic cleansing of a country isn't normal political protest speech. Tommy Robinson is a hateful bigot. And I know that because guess what? Elon Musk loves Tommy Robinson. Just endless atrocities in Britain right now. And it's just, I gotta be honest with you guys. This is some Hitlerite shit. The whole of United Kingdom is hitting the streets tonight at 7 p.m. following yet another invader attack on our people. Like, I want you guys to understand, individual acts of violence happen all the time. All the time. Individual acts of violence happen. That is not an excuse to call for ethnic cleansing. That is not an excuse to attack fellow citizens or fellow residents because, oh, well, they're from Sudan, so clearly they're violent criminals. That's just gutter racism. That's no different than the thinking of the Ku Klux Klan. That's what this is. And what is happening right now in the UK is an extension of that. Here's this story. We're going to go deeper. There's wee girls in that house. On a residential street draped in loyalist flags near Belfast's Shankill Road, the masked men approached a house with boarded-up windows and a security camera stationed outside. As a woman from an ethnic minority background looked down from an upstairs window, some of the men rushed the front door and broke it down. The air thick with smoke from fireworks, they attacked the downstairs windows with bricks. As they stormed the property, some claimed to be liberating it. Graffiti nearby demanded local homes for local people. A woman in the crowd said to her friend, "There's wee girls inside." Nearby, a car was set on fire. As the chaos unfolded, a man in a skull face mask told people to put their phones away. Helicopters circled overhead, and two police officers looked on from their car as smoke billowed towards the sky, but appeared to conclude it was not safe to intervene. Like, this is a fucking fascist attack. This is a bunch of masked fucking bigot gutter racists breaking into somebody's house because there's a black person in there. That's it. That's what's happening. And when Tommy Robinson, someone who advocates for mass ethnic cleansing, tells people to go out into the streets to protest, this is what he is advocating for. It is a program. It is an attempt to kickstart mass ethnic cleansing. This is no different than what the Nazis did in Germany. This is no different from whatever every authoritarian movement does when they gain power and attempts to scapegoat a minority. Australians and Germans ain't raping our children and stabbing innocent citizens. I bet for a fact there are cases in the UK right now of Germans and Austrians doing exactly that. I bet there are cases about it that you just didn't hear about and didn't care about because black people weren't doing it. And when a black person does it, suddenly becomes one black person did a crime? I guess we need to do an ethnic cleansing, lock down the borders. And it's weird how that never happens when white men do crimes, isn't it? When white men in the UK stab someone, or when white men in the UK do sex crimes, isn't it strange that the streets don't suddenly devolve into calls for mass ethnic cleansings of white men from the UK? So strange, isn't it? Very, very strange. So, when we're looking at these cases, it's not difficult to figure it out. And what I find very interesting here, especially in a case like this, one heinous crime doesn't justify further heinous crimes. One man taking a heinous action doesn't then justify a whole slew of people scuttling out of the woodwork, little fascist fucks, into the streets with masks so that they can do heinous crimes, so that they can flip cars and set fire to homes in an effort to torch out immigrants. Very strange, isn't it, that the people in the UK who claim that this heinous attack justifies race riots don't seem to think that burning down homes with children inside might constitute also a heinous crime. It's only, oddly enough, outrageous to them when black people do it. And to be clear, nobody should be doing any heinous crimes. But what is happening here, and this double standard that I'm pointing out and trying to articulate very forcefully and clearly here, is that people like Tommy Robinson and people on the far right, among reform, are not doing this because they are intellectually consistent. They are doing this because they are hateful bigots. And their ideology can only exist because they have the scapegoat of immigrants. And they know this. They know this. Because if you'll notice, if they were intellectually consistent, you'd have to deport all the white men in the UK. You'd have to deport all the fucking anytime anyone does a crime, everyone of that demographic gets deported. That is not a sustainable thing. That isn't. It isn't possible to do that. The reason they claim it's possible is because they want to use immigrants as scapegoats while they continue to rob everyone else blind. They are fleecing each and every one of you in the UK by blaming all of your problems on immigrants. And they use violent incidents like this heinous crime in the case of this Sudanese man. They use that to point at and they say, see, they're all like that and they're robbing you. Because it's all a fucking distraction. To someone like Nigel Farage, he knows this. It's a distraction. He points at that while picking your pockets. It is crazy to me that people keep falling for this. And yet they do. And yet they do. You know, people in the UK will look at this case and be like, well, that Sudanese man is terrible and awful, and we should deport all the people from Sudan. And completely ignore the violent race riot instigated by fascists in Belfast, designed to instill fear, designed to foment unrest, and designed to act as a catalyst for politicians to become more conservative, to empower the fascist movement in the UK. And what happens here is that every single conservative looks at this and goes, yes, of course, we should deport all the Sudanese people. But they completely ignore the other things that happen as a result. They're like, well, yes, the Sudanese man was clearly in the wrong, and thus it justifies going around flipping cars, lighting them on fire, blocking streets, terrorizing people in their homes, destroying homes, and also threatening local businesses. Which I do want to point out, that is exactly what fascists claim immigrants do. When the fascists point fingers at immigrants and call them violent and call them like the instigators behind every wrong in the country, it is quite often to project blame onto immigrants for the things the fascists themselves do. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, yeah, the people who went here and like overturned this car and destroyed it. Yeah, they really care. They really care about the integrity of their communities. They really care about the people of Northern Ireland. They really care about the people of Belfast. It's crazy. Members of Belfast's Sudanese community left work early, and many aren't venturing out of their homes. And hey, let's take a look at this. In a unionist area of East Belfast, masked men set bins alight and pushed them into a bus on the Newtown Ards Road prompting bus services to be suspended until further notice. Some wore balaclavas and waved flares. Several explosions were heard in the space of a few minutes. Several hundred people lingered to view the burnt glider bus, and at least 3 homes had been torched. It was a Romani family in that one, said one woman, indicating a gutted terrace house that still smoldered. Families with young children mingled with men wearing masks and young couples. Some exuded a carnival atmosphere, posing for pictures and drinking beer. One man hoisted up his son, aged around 7, for a better view of another destroyed house. "Get a look at that," he said. "Wow," the boy replied. "It's fascist violence. This is a fascist attack on Belfast, and it should be treated as such. Anytime we talk about it, anytime this gets talked about, these masked fascists went around and burned people's houses down on the basis of their ethnicity. And how is NPR in the United States portraying it? Well, we need calm. They're just protests that broke out. These aren't protests. These are targeted attacks on black and brown people in the UK. These are targeted attacks from fascists. And it's exactly out of the fascist playbook. And you can look at that playbook play out in history again and again, from Germany to Spain to Italy. This kind of shit is hand in hand with the same kind of thing that, frankly, if you're in the UK, your forefathers fought against in World War II. And those of you in the UK who are just going like, "Oh, well, it's not actually fascist violence." Man, you guys are suckers. Man, if Hitler had just come to you guys and talked about how he liked soccer first, football, you guys would have fucking fallen for it. It's genuinely astounding to me, the cowardice of the modern UK man, in particular. Fucking cowards who would have surrendered on the first day of the Blitz. Jesus. Define fascism as Umberto Eco defined it. I have an entire video going over his essay, Fascism. It's pitiful, it is weak, and honestly, to be very clear, fascism is the ideology of cowards. It is the ideology of people who cannot contend with reality and seek to project their insecurities onto the world. Instead of trying to do better, they seek to blame others. Jack, please educate the conservatives on pogroms or the details of Kristallnacht. History is rhyming. I mean, to be completely honest, anyone who knows anything about the Holocaust and the rise of fascism in Nazi Germany should understand that a huge component of what Hitler talked about during his rise to power was that Germany had been betrayed domestically by Jewish people, and that Jews had come into the country in an oncoming invasion. And then he portrayed other nations where their residents had moved to Germany as invaders. He talked about this constantly, all the fucking time. And I guess it just took Nigel Farage and Reform talking about it constantly, along with Tommy Robinson, as an outsider. That's all it took to convince conservatives in the UK. It's crazy. Islam out of our countries, Europe is rising, millions must go. It's truly right out of the fucking Nazi playbook. It's crazy. Y'all are like one bad day away from pushing Nazi esotericism about Aryan race. The glorious Aryan race spreading across Europe. That's you guys right now. And like, fuck. My grandfather didn't fight you fuckers so that I'd have to fight you guys again, but I'll do it if I gotta. It's fucking evil. It is. If you can watch a bunch of masked men take to the streets, burning people's homes down while people are still inside, in the name of, like, racially purifying their land, and you look at that and you're like, well, that's good, though. It's good when we do it, but not when the Nazis do it, because we're built different. You're just as bad as the fucking Nazis. You're just as fucking bad. Scary that you can't walk outside getting stabbed? the majority of stabbings in the UK are done by white men. Quick question. What group of people in the UK is most likely to be stabbed? Take a guess. What group of people is most likely to be stabbed in the UK? The victim of a stabbing. Let's, since we're seeing some people, what group of trans people, not trans people, what racial group within the UK is most likely to be stabbed? I'm seeing a lot of people listing like gender or religion. White males are the most likely to be stabbed. Trans people aren't a race. They aren't a race. I misspoke. That's why I corrected myself and said race. It is, in fact, Black and African individuals. Black and African individuals are the most likely demographic to be stabbed in the UK. Now, to be fair, white, European, and British make up a pretty decent chunk of that as well, but not, in fact, what a lot of people in the UK assume. It was a black who attacked a leftist who was helping him in Belfast. Yeah, and one act of interpersonal violence does not justify a fucking pogrom against an entire group of people on the basis of their ethnic background. Like, I'm sorry. Do you really think that if a white person stabbed like a black person, it would justify an uprising of like black people in the UK to like ethnically cleanse the UK of white people? No, of course not. But it seems to go the other way, doesn't it? For folks in the UK. It's wild, huh? Truth hurts you, don't it? Like, I don't know. Like, even if I assume at face value what you're saying is true, one act of interpersonal violence does not justify ethnic cleansing. That doesn't hurt me. That's just my belief on principle. This is toddler logic. One guy did it, so let me blame his entire group of people. Yeah, exactly. It's genuinely baby-brained bullshit. Which is, by the way, where fascism thrives. Because, again, fascism is an ideology for cowards and also for morons. It's the religion, let's not pretend. Let me put it this way. There's nothing inherent to Islam in that creates violence. And if you are going to make arguments about, you know, religion makes you more prone to violence in this way or that way, man, folks need to look in a fucking mirror about Christianity. There's literally an entire part of the Bible about God commanding genocide. But it's okay, because it's God. Like, I don't know, if you are one of those people pointing fingers, maybe you should take a page out of Jesus's book and let others without sin cast the first stone. Nothing in Islam that promotes violence? Fuck, man, if you want to play that game, we can. I grew up in fundamentalist Christianity. I know that book backwards and forwards, and I can tell you, if you're coming here to say, well, Islam is just inherently violent because of their religious ideology and what's in there, like, have you ever looked at the Quran? There's violent parts in there. Man, you never opened the Bible, have you? You never opened the Bible, have you, son? Look at what the Bible says about the Amalekites. Kill every one of them down, like, kill every man, kill every woman, kill every child, kill every animal. Look what it says about the entirety of humanity. Worth wiping out. God just does it. If you want to play this game where you point fingers at Islam, you better be seeing to the entire set of planks in your own eye before you start that conversation. That's a blatant lie because you never read it then? It's not a lie. Here's 1 Samuel 15. Samuel said to Saul, I am the Lord, sent to anoint you king over his people, Israel. So listen now to the message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. So Saul summoned the men and mustered them at Telaim 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 from Judah. Saul went to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the ravine. Then he said to the Kenites, "Go away, leave the Amalekites so that I do not destroy you along with them, for you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they came out of Egypt." So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt. He took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with the sword. But Saul and his army spared Agag and the best of the sheep and cattle and fat calves and lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak they totally destroyed. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel. "I regret that I have made Saul king because he turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions." Samuel was angry and he cried out to the Lord all that night. That is God quite literally commanding the genocide. And the Bible fucking describes it. So don't you fucking call me a liar.
Islamophobes will react to this.
Like, don't you fucking call me a liar when I talk about what's in the Bible. I know it better than you. So when people start playing this game of like, oh, Islam is inherently violent, like Christianity is inherently violent too. But not everyone who practices Christianity is a violent genocidal maniac. And not everyone who practices Islam is a violent genocidal maniac. And using this as a, like, measuring rod, like, there is no moral high ground here. So when people start saying, well, we need to purge Muslims from the UK because they're inherently violent, think about how inherently violent it is to do an ethnic cleansing. Think about how, I don't know, if one were to point at how this parallels what was done to the Amalekites, how one might be able to argue that Christianity is the inherently violent religion. Exhausting. Curious how Islamophobes will react to this? Oh, interesting. This is from February. Muslims in the UK and US support democracy more than the general public. Favorability in the UK/US. And Muslims generally are more favorably biased towards democracy than the general public. That's pretty interesting. Compare the Quran now. The Quran is also full of violent actions. I'm not saying it's not. But when I'm talking about the Bible and the Quran, see to your own fucking house first. And if you're trying to say, we're the more peaceful religion, that's why we need to do an ethnic cleansing, Jesus Christ, you guys are broken. In your heart and your brain. I just want these fuckers to realize they're playing off Hitler's playbook. It'd be really nice if any of them could open their eyes and ears and look at history and learn a single goddamn thing from it, but fascists are inherently anti-intellectual, right? To be curious enough to fact check where they got their ideology from would be to possess a quality that would preclude them from becoming fascists in the first place. Also interesting, just as an anecdotal point, Christians have always been the ones, to me, in my life, trying to get me to die or go away or expel me from society. Every Muslim I have ever met has always treated me with the utmost kindness, the utmost respect, and the utmost concern for my dignity and well-being, and my ability to exist in society. And, like, I think that's an important note. Anecdotal, but it's important to me. When we are talking about this, it's worth noting the people leading violent attacks on minorities in Belfast, they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. The people taking their children out into the street to show them how great it is that there are now smoldering ruins where homes that housed minorities used to be, they're not doing a public service. They're delusional fascist vagabonds. And yet here you are blabbing, yeah, despite assholes like you, I will continue to live long after you've passed from this earth. And my existence will only continue to be enriched by your absence. If someone says you're doing Nazi shit, you should look and see if you're doing Nazi shit. Exactly. But this is why, and I've talked about this a lot. I talked about it a lot yesterday on yesterday's show, but I guess we're talking about it again. One of the core components, you know what? Let's actually bring it up. So Umberto Eco, for those of you who don't know, grew up under fascism in Italy, under Mussolini, right? And after the fact, he attempted to put together an argument, or not an argument, a useful definition about what exactly is fascism. What is it? Because it seems to be relatively slippery, right? Like, not the fascism of Nazi Germany was different from the fascism of Mussolini's Italy, and that was different from the fascism of Franco's Spain. So what is the commonality that linked them all together, right? And he wrote this essay, again, relatively short. I've read through it on stream in the past and talked about it quite a bit. But in Fascism, Umberto Eco comes down to a handful of different points, 14 points, in fact. And one of those core components is anti-intellectualism, right? And let's take a look here. You have a cult of tradition. You have a rejection of modernism and Enlightenment values. You have the cult of action for action's sake. Now, this is a component of it, right? Like, what that means, the cult of action for action's sake, is that you should purely be reactive and not spend any time in contemplation. You shouldn't be curious, because curiosity causes hesitation, and that will delay action, because action is the number one good, right? And if you spend any time thinking about things before you act, that's actually gay and bad. The exact quote he uses is, thinking is a form of emasculation. And I think that that's pretty obvious when it comes to how you see fascists comport themselves, right? You also have disagreement is treason. So anyone making an argument that, hey, maybe we shouldn't be fascists, are seen as traitors to the country or traitors to the cause, right? That's another component here, right? And then you have, of course, fear of difference, which lends itself to the xenophobia, appeal to social frustration. Again, usually that social frustration is facilitated by economic, discontent, typically brought upon a society by the wealthy class hoarding wealth and causing immense wealth disparity between the working class and the upper echelons of society, right? Then you have an obsession with a plot. Now, we have this here in the United States with like great replacement theory and stolen elections, all of that. And you're starting to see that foment itself into UK politics as well, right? Then you have this seemingly impossible situation where your enemy is both strong and weak, which doesn't make any sense. But since you've already abandoned thinking and instead are relying on action, you can then make statements that are contradictory, right? The quote Umberto Eco has about this one is, by a continuous shifting of rhetorical focus, the enemies are at the same time too strong and too weak, right? And that, like, is very, like, it's pretty clear that that's exactly what's happening in the UK related to immigrants. And it's also exactly what happened in the United States with all the fear-mongering about trans people and undocumented immigrants here. Like, it's the exact same shit. And then you have the number 9 on his 14 points. Pacifism is trafficking with the enemy. So basically, if you are someone who wants to live for peace, for unity, for harmony, who does not, in fact, support, for example, mass ethnic cleansing, that is actually making you a traitor to the cause as well, right? By simply desiring to not have conflict, you are actually a traitor to the cause. And then number 10, contempt for the weak, because that also plays a role in here, right? And then education itself gets shifted around. That's number 11. Everybody is educated to become a hero. Instead of being educated to help society, educated to build yourself up, to better oneself, and thus contribute skills and expertise to wider society, instead, everyone is indoctrinated to sacrifice their lives so that the nation or the political cause can be furthered. This is the kind of ideological indoctrination that leads to people willingly going into meat grinders because they believe that is how, the nation will prevail, right? And then you have the focus on machismo and weaponry. This you can see in the United States when it comes to, far-right militias, for example, or the way that every Republican clutches at their gun instinctively. Like, if you get no better image of this than Steven Crowder with his cosplay holsters in every single broadcast, or at least I think he's ditched them now, but he used to have them all the time. And this machismo, this focus, this is also where a lot of transphobia and homophobia comes from. It's part of why it's baked into a lot of fascist ideas, right? Because to be truly masculine, to be truly macho, and to embody machismo, well, clearly you can't have any of the weakness of women amongst you. And so you must hate women. And so you must also hate men who act in a feminine way. And like you see this like trickle down, right? Through what we're experiencing right now in modern society. Then you have selective populism, what Umberto Eco calls selective populism. And that is essentially the idea that fascists can selectively champion populist causes when it suits them and when it is convenient. Notice how, for example, Donald Trump champions different, very popular ideas, and then when it comes to actually implementing them once he's won power, suddenly, crickets, right? Suddenly, it's all gone. And what you have here, especially when you talk about the rejection of modernism, the rejection of Enlightenment era thinking, that is the rejection of empiricism. It is the rejection that there is an empirical reality that we can know, that we can study, that we can share and live in together, and that there are real facts outside of our perception, right? That, like, gravity is in fact real, that the earth is indeed round, that, regardless of how you feel about the earth being round, it is in fact round. And the breakdown of that in particular, and you can see how in a variety of other ways the fascist mind rejects actual reality, rejects logic, rejects any kind of introspection that might allow them to catch flawed thinking. It's exactly how you get to what is happening in this burgeoning fascist moment in the UK. It's how you get to a situation where there are masked fascists roaming the streets who have shut down traffic and who are burning down homes because black and brown people live in them. And they think that by burning down those homes, that somehow betters their community as it lies smoldering behind them. It's weakness and cowardice is what it is. It's not understanding something and seeking to destroy it. I'm saddened that you couldn't accept yourself as a man. I'm saddened that you couldn't spell the right form of accept. I have an entire degree in English literature, and I'm saddened that you attempted to become literate and failed. You know? Like, it is funny to me, by the way, all of these pro-England, pro-UK folks come in here, and then you fucking butcher your own language. God damn, you guys don't even care enough about your national pride to, like, bother being literate. It's crazy to me, guys. Also, Anime Sidekick Gal, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. I very, very much appreciate it. Dudes spouting transphobia can't even spell or know basic biology. It's true. None of these people understand the world. None of them care to understand it. They don't care to understand that the reality that they live in the same reality that I live in with them, they don't care to research anything. They don't care to understand it. Instead of seeking to understand it, they seek to destroy people like me. You know? You got this, queer? I do got this, queer. Vertical chat frightens me. I mean, it's full of the true troglodytes of the internet. Also known as British Reform. Got him!
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
There we go. Nailed it. Here's Elon Musk. Again, world's richest man, pushing conspiracy theory slop, pushing fucking ethnic cleansing ideology here. The arrested Sudanese man was as an asylum seeker. He entered Britain in February of 2023, immediately claiming asylum, according to the police, who was the immigration minister at the time. And then when the man was granted leave to remain in our country, Reform's Robert Jenrick, who was Home Secretary, Reform's Suella Braverman. They were responsible for our borders. They failed in the most horrific way, with the most horrific consequences. A Restore Britain government will abolish the entire asylum system. No more asylum seekers. Anyone who entered our country illegally will be deported, regardless of current status. Enough. Restore Britain will not fail you. Oh, sorry. Restore. Yeah, because keep in mind, Restore Britain is the, farther right version of Reform. Like, it's crazy. You want to celebrate Pride, you should get a single day, not a month. You do know Pride Month is so that cities and towns can schedule one day where they have their celebrations, right? Like it's a window of time during which a Pride event can be scheduled. It's like a set of guidelines. Kind of like how Halloween has like a month and a half of like people doing Halloween shit, but only one actual day that we all agree on. It's not difficult to wrap your head around this. Like, you guys literally think that like gay people are out partying 24/7 during Pride Month, and that's literally not what we do. We got to go to work. Like we gotta take shits and stuff. Like, goodness. Point of order, just to make it clear, Elon is not the richest man. Is he not? Wasn't he? No, he is absolutely the world's richest man right now. Like, the SpaceX IPO sets him up to become the world's first trillionaire. The reason I bring up Elon Musk is to make sure you guys understand that all of these world-spanning far-right movements, whether they're in the United States or in the UK, get funded and pushed by the same fucking people. Elon Musk poured an ungodly amount of money into getting Donald Trump elected. Elon Musk is currently doing everything he can to press the scales in favor of the far right in the UK. Like, he's been doing this all across Europe because he has enough money to do so. And like, fascists love him because fascists love to kowtow to power. And like, he's got a lot of power. Like, that's why I bring up fascists and Elon Musk in the same breath. He literally got up in front of the entirety of the United States and gave multiple Nazi salutes. Not far right? You're absolutely far right. I guess we'll just conclude the segment there, because God, I can't continue to talk about this case of just like the UK going insane and a whole slew of British people in my comments arguing that no, it's actually purely logical and good to commit ethnic cleansings, and in fact everyone should do it. It's angering what's happening, to say the least. Right? I believe Elon Musk means well. No, he doesn't. No one stands up and does a fucking Nazi salute to the entirety of America and means well. That's like saying fucking Hitler meant well. Like, no. I reject that, like, completely. Alright. Anyway, folks. If you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the fascists in the UK, in Belfast in particular. And also, get organized, folks, because a lot of this is coming downstream of what happens in the United States. You know, the United States props up the far right in the UK. It is not happening in isolation. So, folks, join your local Dems, join your local DSA. We need people to make their local Dems not shit and to actually push progressive values. We had someone in chat, Dragonfly, someone you can reach out to for tips, actually wrote like 100 points or 800 points, like a crazy 100 amendments to the Democratic platform in Washington State. You can, in fact, be someone who goes and builds themselves up in the party as a leftist and get shit done while making the Democrats not shit. It's true. It's possible. All it requires of you is to show up and to not be a fucking freak. Like, show up and like figure out how to socialize and move people to the left within your local Democrats. It is possible. You can free your Democrats from corporate tyranny. It is possible. So all of that being said, join your local Dems, join your local DSA. If you need help joining your DSA, reach out to Gamergy over on the Discord, and she will help you get situated with DSA and also help you figure out how to navigate DSA so you can, make your organizing apparatus locally even better. All right? You have access to both of those organizations regardless of where you are in the United States. And if you are also looking for any other ways you can get involved in directly in campaigns, you can join Progressive Victory. There's a link down below for you to do that. But join your local Dems and join your local DSA, folks. And last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. Go check it out. It is comfortable, sexy lingerie that's non-tucking. Check it out, ImogeneOlivia.com, link down in the description, and let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and switching streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, dating, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.